I often get asked in here, which is my favourite piece, tool. And it's not an easy one because it can change, it can change very quickly. If you get hold of something that you've been looking forward to, or something new, different. But what we've got here is just one or two pieces which they are my favourites, but for different reasons. I mean, some because they're homemade, some because they've adapted an old, worn-out tool, and some are very different. We'll start in this corner. These two have both been made from a worn-out Blacksmiths rasp. If you're not familiar with it, that is a rasp, just a file for shaving down his horse's hoofs. But when they were worn out, they were turned into, it's supposed to be very good steel, and they turned into some very interesting tools. See this one? That is a toy bill for a hurdle maker. Not the small woven hurdles, the big, you've got two uprights, then the cross members fitting into the uprights, and then some supports going across all of them. And this is a tool mainly concerned with that. It's called a toy bill. This was for cutting the holes in the upright bits and for chamfering down the bits that were going to fit into them. This tool would assist in making those holes. Got a little chopper piece there, it's really sharp, you could peck away. And you can see it where the teeth of the rasp are still there, all the way down there. And there's a great clever bit to turn an old rasp into a toy bill. Another one, it looks just like a pair of pincers, but it's a bit more to it than that. I suppose for a farrier this would be what we call nail trimmers. It's quite a precision job because that blade just fits snugly against there, very precisely. And these have been made out of an old rasp. You can see the teeth that are up there, all the way down, on the other side. Interesting. Here, you've got, looks just like a pocket knife. And these are timber scribes. So if someone wanted to put numbers or letters onto timbers, onto a tree trunk, or on this they could use. And although it looks very much like a penknife or a knife, that is flat, because it does no cutting at all. The only piece that is sharp is that small piece there, with which you could gouge out numbers and letters. And it folds up very neatly. The blade bit tucks away into there. And this is, I think this would have been a very prized, tool, because chap's got his name, his initials on it, WBW. It was here, hasn't been used much lately. Again, that is the only piece that's sharp. But with this one, you can put the point in, and then that is also a sharp piece. You could scribe a circle with that, and do the straight bits of a letter or a number with that piece. I always think anyone interested in graffiti work would love to get hold of one of these. I'd have a field day. This is rather a special tool. It is one of my favourites. A very useful tool too. And this was used by gamekeepers, and it's called a Gamekeepers Companion. And it's got a hammer, a peck. But do you see how the metal goes round the top, underneath, back, down that side, and these two straps are held down with this collar. Wonderful piece of workmanship, that. You then have your axe on this side, and that is very well balanced for an axe. The other thing that's on here, you have a spade, and down the side, this is marked off in inches. And I think that is a very handy combination tool. Often combination tools they get too clever, they've got too many things on, and none of them are really efficient. But this, I'm sure, would serve a gamekeeper well. This one, all sorts of people, every now and again, would need to take a sample out of a sack of grain. But with this, you're able to put it into a sack. I suppose you wriggled it around a bit, the grain would come out of here. But the beauty is, you could also replace the sack as it was without damaging it. That meant you could take a sample from any sack, in any position in the pile, and not the one that the chappie put on top, which he'd like you to take a sample from. I do like this one because a gentleman came in one day who was a collector himself, and he really appreciated what's here. But when he got home, he felt he'd like to contribute something to the museum, and he sent that. I thought that was most kind of him. This one is one of my favourites. Not sure why. I think it's a very beautiful tool. It's well made and it's homemade. It was used by coopers. These are hand holes, there and there. And you can see where they've been made with a brace and bit. And there you have a blade, slightly curved, and you can hold the two hands there. And that would go inside a barrel when it was completed. And you're able to plane around inside the assembled barrel. And that tool was made solely to plane from there to there, that piece there. Slightly dished. It's called a chiv, or a chave. C-H-I-V usually, or C-H-E-V-E, chave. That's a stave from a barrel. They are quite works of art because very skilled to make them. That's been all chipped out with one of his axes or adzes. And they had to be so made that they were 100% flat. And the sides are sloping in that way, and it's all very skilled trade. And then, when that was planed out with the chiv, this one, very similar, but that's got a very small blade on there. And that was used to cut out the little slot in that curved bit, which the lid fitted into. So that's what these two were for. Shave it back, that one put in the groove for the lid. But